Title of the first section today is Find the Slope of 2 points. Using 2 points, we can find the slope between the 2 points. The definition or equation for the section: m will stand for slope, and the equation will be y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. To find the slope of 2 points, we will subtract the y values in order, and underneath on the denominator of a fraction, we'll subtract the x values in order. First question. First point is 4, -1, and the second point is 6, -6. When using the equations above, the 2 means it comes from the second point, and the 1 means it comes from the first point. So the slope for this question, y2, would be the second y value from the second point, which is -6, minus the first y value from the first point, which is a -1. Divided by x2, the x value in the second point, which is 6, minus the x value in the first point, which is 4. Solving from here, -6 minus a -1. Whenever you have minus minus or two negatives, we can change that to positive. -6 plus 1 would be -5, and 6 minus 4 would be 2. So the slope would be -5 over 2. Second question. First point is 2, 6, and -3, 6. And again, using the equation from above, the slope, m equals the second y value, which is 6, minus the first y value, which is also 6, divided by the second x value, which is -3, minus the first x value, which is 2. Subtracting 6 minus 6 would be 0. -3 minus 2 would be -5, and 0 divided by any number would be 0. So these 2 points would have 0 slope, which also means it's a straight horizontal line. And the last question for the section, the first point, -1, 3, and -1, 5. M equals the second point y value, which is 5, minus the y value from the first point, which is 3, divided by the second x value, -1, minus the x value from the first point, which is also -1. Subtracting 5 minus 3 would be 2, 1 minus a -1, minus minus or two negatives again, we can change to addition, so -1 plus 1 would be 0. For this question, 2 divided by 0, or any number divided by 0, the answer would be undefined. It is impossible to divide any number by 0. So the slope would be undefined, or in terms of graph, the line would be a vertical line straight up and down. Title of the next section is Graphing a Line Using a Point and In this section, we'll graph a line using a point and a slope. First question. The point is -3, -1, and m equals, or the slope equals, 1/5 or 1/5. Using a point and a slope, we can draw the graph by drawing the xy axis. We'll start with the point first, -3, -1. The x value is -3. The y value is -1. So the -3, -1 would be the point. The slope, 1/5. The numerator, or top number, tells you what the rise is, how much the number goes up. And the denominator, in this case 5, tells you how much the run is, or how much to go to the right. So from this point, we'll go up 1 and 5 spots to the right. Up 1 spot would be on the x-axis, and 5 spots to the right would be at +2 for the x-axis. So going up 1 spot over 5 spots, we can connect the 2 points, and we have the graph of the line. Second question for the section is the point 3, -4, and we'll use the slope, or m equals 2. Again, we can draw the graph for the xy axis. The point 3, -4, x value would be 3, the y value would be -4. For the slope of 2, anytime the slope is an integer or a whole number, you can make the slope a fraction by putting a 1 for the denominator. And again, like the previous problem, we'll go up 2 and to the right 1. From the point we graphed, up 2 spots and to the right 1. Taking the 2 points, we can connect it to make a straight line. And that would be the graph for the question. And last problem, the point is -2, -3, and m equals undefined. Again, having a point and a slope, even if the slope is undefined, we can draw a graph for the question. Drawing the point -2 and -3. If you think about the previous problems, what we did that were undefined, undefined means you have some number in the numerator, and 0 is always in the denominator. It does not matter what number is on top, but 0 for the denominator would be undefined. That means we go to the right 0 spots, or do not go to the right, and the number means we can go however many spots we want up. In this case, you could just go 1 spot up, or again, however many spots you want to go up, but it does not go to the right. So the line would be a straight vertical line going up and down anytime you have an undefined slope. Title of the next section is Are the following parallel, perpendicular, or neither? 2 definitions. Parallel, when you have parallel lines, you have to have the exact same slope for both lines. When you have perpendicular lines have to have the opposite reciprocal slope. Opposite meaning one is positive, one is negative, and reciprocal meaning it's the same fraction but flipped upside down. First question we'll look at is y equals 3x minus 2. And the second equation for the same problem, y equals 3x plus 2. Looking at these two equations, we can figure out if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. If you remember from Algebra 1, y equals mx plus b is the equation for a slope-intercept form. The m is a slope, so the number in front of x would be the slope. In this case, we have 3x and 3x. So the slope in the first equation is equal to 3. The slope in the second equation also equals 3. Since both the slopes have the same value or same number, these are parallel. Second question is a graph on a xy axis. One line and the second line. Looking at these two lines, we can decide if they look parallel, if they look perpendicular, or if they are neither. Parallel lines would be lines that go parallel side by side that do not cross. Since these cross, they're not parallel. Perpendicular lines, when they cross, they make a 90-degree or right angle. This is not a 90-degree or right angle. So if it's not parallel, not perpendicular, these lines would be neither. So it's not parallel or perpendicular. And last question. First one will have the slope of 3, 2 and 5, 3. And we'll also have the slope of 1, 4 and 2, 2. To determine if these lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither, we'll first have to find the slope of the first points and also find the slope of the second points. If we find the slope of the first 2 points, again we'll have a fraction. We'll subtract the second y value from the first y value, which is 3 minus 2. And we'll also subtract the second x value from the first x value, 5 minus 3. 3 minus 2 would be 1, and 5 minus 3 would be 2. So the slope from the first 2 points is 1/2. Next we'll find the slope of the second 2 points. And once we find the slope, then we'll compare them to see if it's parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Subtracting the 2y values, 2 minus 4, and subtracting the 2x values, 2 minus 1. 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and 2 minus 1 would be 1. So the slope of the first 2 points is 1/2 or 1/2. Slope of the second 2 points is negative 2/1 or negative 2. These are not parallel since they're not the same. To be perpendicular, they have to be opposites. One is positive, one is negative, so they're opposites. The reciprocal would be the same fraction flipped upside down. 1/2 is the reciprocal of 2/1. So these points would be perpendicular.